Hello everybody, Andy here again. I thought I'd try a slightly different setting this time. I thought I'd turn the lights out and just leave this sort of slightly eerie sort of image here on the computer and see how that turns out. Because I thought, well, I've just been talking about Earth Hour in a recent video, and I've just celebrated, if that's the right word, the particular hour here in the UK. And I thought, turn the computer off. I turned the lights off. But I thought, well, what I can do, rather than be completely in the dark or just with a candle or something, is to watch a film. So which film can I watch? So a film that I've always liked, and I've got the book here. This is the book, Jerzy Kosinski's Being There, which, if you haven't seen the film, it stars Peter Sellers as Chance the gardener, and I won't go into the story. But anyway, watching the film is very, very good for those of you who do know it, and if you haven't seen it before, I suggest you go and watch it because it is one of the best Peter Sellers films. Not funny, but very observant. And one of the things that comes out in that is about sort of plain speaking, I suppose. Chance the gardener, or Chancey Gardner, or Chauncey Gardner, I think, as he is mistakenly, well, he talks in these sort of analogies about gardening because that's all he knows. All he knows is gardening. So he talks about gardening and relays it to everything, to politics and monetary policy and this type of thing, and gets the ear of the US president, etc. And then everyone thinks, oh well, it's a bit like this sort of Emperor's New Clothes type thing in a way, I suppose, that everybody sort of sees, can't see through it. But and the point is that he was just talking very plainly, just talking about something he knew, very, very basic terms, very simple English, and careful English. No big words, nothing fancy, none of these big things that you hear about nowadays. And that sort of made me think about the way things are. Well, I don't know what it's like where you work or whatever. But funny enough, I was talking about this at work the other day with my immediate manager, as it happened. And I was talking about all these sort of management speak that you get now. And the sort of, you've got these sort of things that we play. And we said to our boss recently in a coming up to a meeting that we've got this thing here called bullshit bingo. You know, we've got all these buzzwords that people, blue sky thinking, and all thinking outside the box, and all those sort of management speak that you get. And the idea with that, if you don't know already, and I did do a video about this years ago, was that you sort of tick every time you hear someone mention one of these buzzwords or phrases, you tick it off, and if you get all of them, you shout out bingo. It's not the right sort of thing to do in an executive meeting or something like that, I suppose. It probably wouldn't go down very well. But you know what it's like, people talking all this sort of gobbledygook, all this jargon, big words, and you're thinking, what on earth are they talking about? Let's get back to base. Let's talk about what we know. But I did hear something the other day, a guy talking about jargon and this sort of management speak, this business speak, and you find it throughout. You find it in articles, you find it in contracts, don't you? You get this, read the small print of some of the things that you read, whether it be on the internet or whether it be through insurance policies or anything. I'm sure we can relate to it ourselves. And you see the small, you think, what on earth are they talking about? You can't read it, and it sort of puts you off, and you end up just ticking the box. When was the last time when you did something on the internet, you signed up for a particular service, a particular site, and you put your username and you chose your password and that, and it says at the bottom, you've got the I accept. You either have to check a box or you just click I accept, or you get an update on a piece of software or something like that. When was the last time you actually read that? Now, and why is it that you don't read it? It's because of the management speak, probably, and you don't want to wade through all of that rubbish or what you perceive to be rubbish. But hidden in there is the stuff that you really need to know about it. And I'm guilty of that as well. But the management, what someone was saying, to get back to the point, what the person was talking about the other day, was management speak is great, but all this sort of bullshit, if you want to go, all this management speak, all this rubbish that people do spout and quote all the time, is great if you're all in a room with like-minded people who understand. If you understand what the people are talking about, that's fine, because it is, in some way, some of it can cut through some of the other rubbish that you might have to. If you know what you're talking about, it's great. We all use buzzwords, don't we? Possibly where you work as well, you use particular jargon that's work related that nobody outside can understand. One of the reasons you do that is so that people outside can't understand, and people do it amongst their friends, don't they? Use sort of certain words, especially kids nowadays, come up with new words, and I know we do as well, but kids especially come up with new words, and that's partly to keep other people out, because their parents or other people don't understand what they're talking about. It's an exclusion thing, and I think that's partly what it's to do with the management speak, the lawyer speak in some of these contracts and that. But getting back to the being there analogy, well, the thing that was in there was the fact that what happened is that Chancellor Gardner sort of really cut down without realising it. He was just being himself, but he sort of spoke in a certain way, and everyone go, "Wow, this is great! This is new! This is really good!" You know, this person's talking in our language, getting back to basics. Maybe that's what we need to do now. Well, it's what we do with politics. It's not talking on a UK perspective, and we're coming out with new phrases, quantitative easing, I think, which basically means printing money, and all these other sort of jargon that people come out, and it's bullshit to us because we don't understand it, or it has to be explained to us, and so you gloss over it, and maybe it's words that come out that are trying to hide something else. Whether it is intentional or not, I don't know. I suspect a lot of the time it is. It's to try and confuse people. Just speak properly. If it's quantitative easing is really printing money, say it's printing money, increasing the money supply or something like that. Words that people, you and I, the ordinary person, can understand. Stop excluding us by using language that we don't know what you're talking about. I know that's partly your purpose. So there you go. That's if you haven't, this is a great book as well, and it's only a short book, not very long at all, but it's a great film, a great book. But once again, it's very good for that, because it brings out that whole idea of what I'm talking about here, that someone comes into a political background, especially gets the ear of the president, and speaks in a language that anybody could understand, uses the analogy of gardening, etc., as I said earlier, and cuts through all that rubbish and is understood, and everyone thinks, oh, what a breath of fresh air. Let's do that here. Let's just talk normally. Let's cut through the jargon, whether it be at work or something. We have an English, a crystal mark on contracts and on publications now, through work, through government, to try and get back to pure English, or to easy to understand. That's a start, but and it's a good start, and it is a good thing, but there's so many other examples that I've quoted here, and you can probably think of where that doesn't happen. And as I said, some of it I think is malicious in some ways. Is there to try and stop us understanding exactly what we're saying. So anyway, or what other people are saying. So get back to basics, speak pure English. Hopefully that's what I try and do in my videos, and I know other people do as well. Try not to use too many big words or buzzwords or something like that, and just talk normally. Talk in words and phrases and language that other people can understand, because ultimately, if you're trying to do something like this, especially vlogging, but even if you're a politician or a newspaper person or even a manager, surely you want the people to understand what that message that you're trying to get across, whatever that message might be and whatever it relates to. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'll leave you in the dark. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.